Kia ora, ko James Thomas aho. I'm a member of the team at the Teaching Council who are working to ensure the effective implementation of the professional growth cycle for principals, tumuaki and ECE professional leaders. I've been involved in the education sector over many years as a teacher, as a parent, as a kindergarten committee member, as a board member, as a high school principal and also as a board chair. So I'm sure that you've got two key questions. What do we need to know and what do we need to do? I'll cover this in the next 3 or 4 minutes, and then if you've got time I'll go into a bit of background and give a bit more information and cover the support material that's available. In October 2021, the Professional Growth Cycle for Principals, Tumuaki and ECE professional leaders was launched. Leaders have until February 2023 to be up and running with their PGC, but they can start this at any stage. In essence, the PGC requires principals to understand the standards and make them part of their professional practice. To plan their PGC, share this with their presiding board member, and agree on the support that they'll receive. The third element requires principals to work collegially with other professional leaders as they engage in learning that will support their growth. And the fourth element is to do with seeking and reflecting on a range of feedback. Then a professional network colleague will confirm that the principal has engaged in their PGC and has met the standards. There are, of course, processes to follow if the endorser feels that the principal has not met the standards. Professional management practices such as appraisal and attestation of professional standards are still in place. In the meantime, people are finding that the PGC can cover the legislative requirements and the regulations to do with the principal's professional practice. There are, of course, other practices in place if there are serious employment issues to do with conduct, competence or complaints. The Teaching Council are working closely with the New Zealand School Trustees Association to ensure that boards are familiar with the PGC and are aware of the options available as they support their principal in their PGC. Well, that's the short version. Now for a bit of background, a bit more detail, and a bit of a comment on some of the resource materials that we have available. Welcome back. By way of background, there was an accord in 2019 between the Ministry of Education, the NZEI and the PPTA. This was done mainly to reduce the burden of compliance and also to get in line with corporations and organisations all around the world. The Professional Growth Cycle for Teachers was developed by a truly cross-sector group that included your President Lorraine Kerr. The PGC for Teachers came into effect early in 2020. The same working group continued to work together and developed the Professional Growth Cycle for Principals, Tumuaki and ECE professional leaders. Both PGCs will strengthen the responsibility of the profession for the ownership of improvement in a way that is high trust, growth and learning focused, and also improves the equity and consistency across all of New Zealand. Each PGC must be flexible and responsive because every school has its own context. Also, it must reflect the day job of the principal. It's not something different, it's the business of every day, ensuring the best outcomes for our tamariki. Again and again, the working group heard from principals that collaboration with other professional leaders was the best way that they would learn and be supported. And so this collaboration has become a key part of the professional growth cycle. At its foundation, the professional growth cycle has our code, our standards. Our code being who teachers and principals are, our standards being what they do. The 6 standards come under the following heading: Te Tiriti o Waitangi Partnership, Professional Learning, Professional Relationships, Learning Focused Culture, Design for Learning, and Teaching. Naturally, our code and our standards for teachers and principals are rooted in the principles of Te Tiriti o Waitangi. It would be really valuable to have a discussion with your principal about this and the other standards, and to learn more about how they are brought to life in your school. The working group would like the PGC to be more equitable than previous experiences, where principals across New Zealand had vastly different experiences depending on such things as resourcing, the support provided, and the expertise or approach of their board. The PGC will have some elements that will be just business as usual for your principal, such as engaging in professional learning and seeking and reflecting on feedback. And then there are some aspects of the PGC that will be quite new. For example, the principal will plan their PGC in discussion with their professional learning colleagues and then share this with their presiding board member. The presiding board member and the principal will meet and discuss the type of support that will be available for the PGC. This might be release time so that the principal can meet with their professional learning network, or it could be resource funding so that they can attend conferences or workshops. In relation to the feedback from the presiding board member, that's element D, it is not expected that the board member personally collate and analyse all the feedback from the various sources. The most valuable feedback is regular, timely and openly discussed. As a principal, I served with 3 different board chair, and I was very fortunate to have that sort of relationship where there were no surprises, we would meet regularly, and matters were dealt with as they occurred. The Teaching Council, Matatu, have developed endorser guidelines to ensure consistency and clarity about this process. Board members will want to know if their principal does not meet the standards. If an endorser feels that a principal will not or has not met the standards, there is a process to follow, and this is clearly outlined in the endorser guidelines. There is also support available from the Teaching Council in these situations. We all want the best leaders so that our tamariki get the best schooling so that they thrive and look forward to a future full of hope, contribution, positive hauora and achievement. Thank you for your commitment as a board member, for supporting what your school and your principal are doing for our precious tamariki. Haere rā.